Alright, Lords of Mayhem, time to do the Bladestorm build guide. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to start off with the skills. Wings of Ishmir, this is for mobility. As you can see, we don't have Warpath for a start, and there's no spells, so we don't have access to Aether Jump. Anyway, so bit of mobility. It's obviously got a few benefits as well, like buffing damage. If you take this node here, Relentless Pursuit, you can actually use it repeatedly from stamina. So it's a little bit like Leap Slam from Path of Exile if you play that game, like that. So it's pretty decent actually for mobility, using that. Besides that, as I said, it gives you some buffs. That's why we're taking this one. Right, next up, Blood for Blood. This kind of gives you some damage buffs and speed buffs. You know, debatable how good it is. It does have this node as well, which is interesting. It's a cull on 30%, but it's only a percentage chance, and I don't know what that chance is. It's probably pretty low. It does seem not great. Okay, and then we have Sovereign Shout, which is the best melee buff, but you know it does have a big animation, which a lot of people don't like in terms of losing fluidity. So if you're moving and then you want to do a shout, you have that sort of second delay while you do it. Great animation though. Right, and why do we take this? Well, there's a number of things. Again, it's mainly buffs. We stun enemies around us, add weakness stack. I mean, this is a minor thing, but I have taken. And critical chance score. I mean, look, you can look at all these things. Like, for example, here you get stamina points back to help with your mobility on wings. Something to note, I normally do take this one, immunity to crowd control effects, but because I am getting immunity from my weapon now, I'm using this unique weapon, I'll get back to that later, I'm not having to use that. So you mix and match this based on what your build's got, what your gear's got. Okay, next, Juggernaut, very important. This gives you a massive shield to incoming damage, and you basically just take all the nodes that increase the amount of shield that you get. And you can just have a look at all the nodes and see what you like, but generally I think this is probably the most effective setup. Okay, next, this is, I mean, this is like it's not the main source of damage, but if you're in a situation where you can stand still and hit, it does some big hits. Like you'll get 10 million crits from this. It's not exactly meme, but it is a bit weird. I mean, if you look at the hitbox, it's ridiculous. It's so, you know, it goes right on top of the mob to hit it. But I do use that. Generally, I'll stun the enemy and then whack him. And here you want this wind up, so you can do it 3 times. So I'll just quickly demonstrate. 1, 2, 3, hit. And that's, I don't know how many more times, I can't remember, but it might be like 10 times the damage doing that. Okay. Yeah, next one, finally, obviously the main skill, Bladestorm. Now the most important node to take here for damage is Shockwave. Right, so it does an extra very high damage amount at the end of the cycle. So if you watch it, it kind of has a weird, when you hold down the attack, you'll see it kind of has that stuttering action. And that's from the Shockwave. So you can still be mobile, it's just not as smooth. You know, if you end up going, you can, if you are kind of overpowering the enemies, then what you can actually do is get rid of that. Get rid of something else, probably that one, and then take the continuous motion, and then it's very smooth, obviously. You can slide around that. And you can just chill, you know, have a beer in one hand and play the game with the other. So that's the usual, but it's not good enough damage at the highest level, which is why I don't have it on as default. Just fix this back again. Okay. Right, so those are the skills. Now, interesting to note is that you can now get Blood for Blood, Juggernaut, and Shout all on items. I don't have all of them, but for example, you can get Juggernaut on these shoulders. You could give that a try. I haven't actually tested it yet. Is it a body armor possibly that does... Right, there is... I think there's a body armor or legs. Right, do I not have it here? No, there's a helm that does Shout, and that's the imbued version of this one. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure... Can I not read? Or is it just not here? Yeah. Well, I think there is a body armor or legs that will give you the other one. Blood for Blood. Was it? No, hang on. Is it a weapon? Well, if you find it, you can comment. There is something. Okay, let's move on to the Gate of Fates. Okay, now there's a couple of ways you can do this. This particular setup I'm using, I'm not taking advantage of all the block nodes up here, right? So if you go block chance, there's a bunch you can take up here. And there's another one here, obviously. But I'm not doing that because I'm using these shoulders, which give 10 and 10. They are pretty good. A lot of rage generation on block as well, which means you can permanently sustain. So that's what you do have to definitely consider that, and you'll build your tree differently. You'll have to go up here if you don't use those shoulders, most likely. Okay, so what are we taking in? Let's just start over here. Most importantly, you start off with Child of Fury. This is for double damage. And to sustain yourself above 750, you do a couple of things. First of all, you have a lot of regen. Okay, I'll just quickly show you over here. I've got 150 regen, and you can get that higher quite easily. What the regen does, I'll just demonstrate, it speeds up. In fact, I'm not even able to run out of energy, as you can see here. But if you watch how fast the purple willpower goes back into rage when I let go, that is all my regen. Very, very fast regen. Okay. Yeah, so that's the one thing. And the other thing is that I have 1900. So to stay above 750 around here, very easy. So this is always double damage in combat. The other thing is that you take these extra 400 there, another 150 there. Right, so Flurrying Flames, it's, we're losing resistances, which we don't care about, to get a bunch of attack speed and leech. I think this is a bit of, block efficiency. We are losing 10% of your overall damage you lose for taking this, but 20 efficiency is a lot. Now, interestingly, if you look over here, 20% block and 10% efficiency, and you're losing 20% attack speed, and you can't use, well, you're not going to be able to use your dodge. That's probably the most tricky part. So you can't roll, because every time you dodge, it's going to change your stance. But I haven't tried that, but I do think that's the way to go. Another way to build, rather. Okay, moving on. The reason we've come down here, besides the 150 willpower, is the 5 meters radius for health globes, which works with Plaguebringer. Undertaker. These globes give you 20% damage per globe you pick up. It really is a lot of damage. And that one, I think, extends the time to 10 seconds. I'm not sure if you also get changed from 20 to 30% damage. That might only be for minions. It's a bit unclear. You have to test to see, but you should get the extra 5 seconds. Right down here, we've got 20% multiplier on speed. And over here, we are going to be standing still a lot of the time. Excuse me, so this is a no-brainer. We just get 30% damage for some loss of movement speed, which we don't care about because, we're going to be, we are using Bladestorm to get around all those issues. Okay, right, I've covered this already. That's just a bit of extra damage. That's very convenient to pick up on the way. This is a very strong node, 1% damage per 100% remaining rage points, especially when you got close to 2000. We are pure material, so we take this for a 20% multiplier, just for some nearby enemy damage. And then this one, although it's not material damage, okay, this damage gets added on afterward. So this applies at the level of your your gear, right? So if you've got any occult or elemental damage, it'll just get removed. However, this gets added on afterwards, so you still get 35% extra damage for taking that, which is very strong. Okay, and then on the stats side, pretty much everything in ferocity, just take enough toughness so that you're not getting one shot that you can sustain. I've actually got quite a lot of life now. I can probably get rid of some of this and respec this around a little bit to get that back up to 50 where I like to see it in town. Okay, let's move on to, well, I've kind of covered, I'm starting doing this already now, the stats. We're not really too bothered about ailment. Agility, we actually get a lot of that from, when we actually got our skills go. So, although I don't stack anything here, for example, and we're losing, well, we gain attack speed there, for example. So, and I think potentially through one of them, and like through blood for blood, get some attack speed. One of these. Yeah. So that kind of takes care of itself. Right. Next, I want to show you the defense. I've got 100% block chance. This can get up to 80 if you have great gear, and you want to pick up as much dodge as you can as well. If you happen to have some resistances, fine, but we are destroying those through one of our Gated Fates nodes. Okay, and I did already cover this. A lot of willpower regen is quite important because we're not cheating with Aether Jump here to restore our rage. Okay, right. Now let's go to the gear. Now I have made a couple of changes since the first video I put up. I was initially using, believe it or not, this ring, a level 60 version of this ring. Sorry, not that one. Yeah, this one here, the Seal of the Arbiter, which was still pretty decent. I was still doing level 219 on it. You get 48 or up to 50% critical damage, possibly also melee damage for that loss of 20 attack speed. So it actually was fine. But now I just think these Sani stashes are better. These are just great rings, just all round. 37 to all attributes. That one's got less, 23. But these are really good rings, and the reason we're using these is because on flat damage rolls on rings, it's always elemental. Okay, and if you remember, because we're taking Gods Among Men, we are not going to get any elemental damage. So those are always going to be blank stats. So it's pretty hard to roll a decent ring without using that flat damage. So I just use Sani stashes. You probably can make a great ring though. Another one to consider if you haven't got them is this here. I think this is also good. There's a lot of damage on there. Sagittarius. I don't know, you can tell me how to pronounce that. Okay, so I just actually want to jump back again. The reason I'm playing Toxic on Bladestorm is because we're going up here and getting an extra bit of toxic damage anyway, and there's a few toxic scaling nodes that we have to pick up, 15, 10, and this one's right here, 15. So that's another 40% damage. Not multiplier, but another 40% additive damage on toxic, so it's worth changing this to toxic. In fact, I'll just show you. If you don't go... Alright, this thing never updates properly. Okay, so it's on 30.5, and if we change this, I mean, that's dramatic. Okay, that obviously is way less. If we go to the basic one, it's 28.4, and if we just by changing to toxic, we've gained an extra 2,000, which is about 6% damage just from changing from physical to toxic. So that's why you do that. Okay, back to the gear. Right, so just go through them. Just the regular amulet, as much attack stats on it as you can get. I've covered these shoulders. If you don't have those shoulders, then you're going to go for, something like this material. Just dodge, attack speed, ferocity. Ideally, you want, rage and willpower cost reduction. you know, just the usual stats. Something like that be fine as well. In fact, I think I probably was using that before. Okay, helmet. I mean, it's really good if you can get one with that 3%, well, up to 5, but you'll never see 5. It's like you might get 4.9 if you're lucky. Damage per 100% rage points. This is a huge amount of damage. Just to demonstrate, okay, I know this helmet's got 15. I mean, it's got a little bit of crit chance on it, but let me you know, we could do it with, yeah, let's demonstrate here. So if I put this helmet on, right, it's got 50 critical chance and it's got ferocity. No, nothing else. And it gives us up to 26.4. Now we put this on, okay, we are going to get a very similar critical chance score, 57, but we don't get the extra ferocity. So we're actually getting less added damage from the other stats. All we're adding is that 3% per 100. And watch what the change is, right? It was 26.4, 30.5. Massive, massive improvement. It's like 15%. 15% multiplier from one mod, and that's not even maxed. So if you can get this one with material damage on, well, then you can hit me up with an IM and we'll talk about a trade. So that's really what you need on there. And you can get the same stat on body armor. I don't have one yet. I mean, I've probably got one I'm trying to work on somewhere. I think I got one, but not with all the stats I needed. It's somewhere. Give us more stash space, please. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, you can get it on body armor as well, but this body armor is pretty decent and it's very easy to pick up. Now, so 17 rage, but it goes up to 20 at least. Rage hit taken is great. Goes up to 900, maybe even 1,000% health. So you can get over 7,000. I think I've got another 2 here. I do have, yeah, I've got some spares somewhere. And up to 300 maximum willpower and rage. If you remember that increases this bar. So that's a really good stat. Usual for the gloves, just the usual stats: willpower reduction, dodge, material damage, attack speed's good, crit's good. I mean, there's so many good stats that as long as you're getting 3 or 4 of them, you're laughing. Same thing on the belt, usual stuff. And I mean, all these legendary items, you're looking for the same stats. Like, you could probably even use a boot without movement speed, to be honest. Okay, shield, you really want to get one with good block chance and efficiency. This is the best one I've managed to get with material damage. I'll show you some other examples I've got sitting around. Like, there's another one, same idea, block efficiency, block efficiency. Even if you don't have a material roll, as long as you've got really high block efficiency on them, it'll at least help you get toward the 100 block cap, which is the important thing. Weapons, look, this is a great weapon, and I don't think it's that hard to get. It really is crazy good. But before that, I was using this, again, right up to, yeah, I think I was using this weapon, up to 217 without a problem. So, you know, you can just make, you need to get like a 325 plus, let's call it. 325 plus fizz weapon. Okay, that's pretty much the build covered, I'd say. Right, if there's anything I've left out, you can just drop some questions.